Hello, everyone. Ever splurged on a plant? Maybe a few bucks on an orchid or a bonsai. But imagine shelling out the cost of a house for a single flower. Sounds crazy, right? Yet in 17th century Holland, that's exactly what happened. Some folks literally spent fortunes on a tulip. Yes, you heard right, a tulip. Not just any tulip, of course, but one that had an entire nation spellbound. This colorful little bloom, at one point, was pricier than gold. Sounds like a tall tale, but it's all true. This phenomenon is known as Tulip Mania, one of history's first major speculative bubbles, where passion for a flower sparked unprecedented economic frenzy. Ready to dive into this wild tale and figure out how a simple tulip could cause such a stir? To grasp this tulip frenzy, let's wind back the clock. It all began in the early 16th century, far from the Netherlands, in Central Asia and Turkey to be exact. Tulips had been cultivated and cherished there for centuries, often featured in art and decor as symbols of love and prosperity. That's where European travelers, mesmerized by these vibrant flowers, stumbled upon them on their journeys. One such traveler, Ogier Ghiselin de Busbecq, an ambassador for Emperor Ferdinand I to the Ottoman Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent in the 1550s, was especially captivated. In his letters, he paints a picture of the splendid Ottoman gardens, where tulips blossomed aplenty. He brought tulip seeds back to Europe, hoping to recreate that garden grandeur. But it was in the Netherlands that the tulip truly found its footing and became more than just a flower. The country's fertile soil and apt climate proved perfect for their cultivation. Within just a few decades, starting in the 1590s, the Dutch were smitten by these exotic blossoms. Botanists and gardeners, awed by their range and beauty, started growing them zealously. Tulip festivals became regular events, where people gathered to marvel at new breeds. Carolus Clusius, a renowned botanist of that time, also known as Charles de la Cluse, played a pivotal role in this tale. He planted tulips at the University of Leiden, thus introducing this flower to a broader audience and stoking increasing fascination. His experiments and crossbreeding resulted in new strains, further elevating the allure of these blooms. However, what truly ignited the fuse was when the Dutch realized that due to mutations and unique traits, some tulips were incredibly rare. The value of these tulips skyrocketed, plunging the nation into a speculative frenzy it had never witnessed before. Owning a rare tulip quickly became a symbol of high social standing. But how could a flower, no matter how beautiful, lead to such obsession? To understand this, one must delve into the culture, economy, and society of the time in the Netherlands. Here, prosperity and the desire for exclusivity combined, creating the perfect breeding ground for tulip mania. The Netherlands in the 17th century truly stood as the epicenter of European culture, innovation, and prosperity. Positioned at the crossroads of major trade routes, they were experiencing the Golden Age. Maritime trade, art with masters like Rembrandt, and science with pioneers like Leeuwenhoek, were all thriving. The Dutch Republic, as it was then known, shone as a beacon of civilization, attracting traders, artists, and intellectuals from across Europe. In this unprecedented prosperity, the newly established rich Dutch bourgeoisie craved to showcase their wealth and refined taste. Citizens not only had the financial means but also an insatiable desire to possess rare and luxurious items. And in this quest for distinction, tulips, with their vivid colors and unique patterns, became the centerpiece. However, this obsession went far beyond simply acquiring luxury goods. Tulips had transformed into an overwhelming passion, almost an art form in itself. Gardeners and horticulturists, in their pursuit of excellence, competed fiercely to create ever more captivating varieties with mesmerizing patterns and hues. In 1637, a particularly prized variety fetched a record price of 6,700 florins, the famed Dutch gold coin. To put that in perspective, the cost of a single one of these bulbs could equal 2 houses, 8 times the price of a fat calf, and 15 times the annual salary of a craftsman. Some of these varieties, like the legendary Semper Augustus with its purple and white veins, became so rare they could be worth a grand mansion on Amsterdam's canals. Moreover, tulip mania wasn't confined to gardens or flower fairs. Taverns, cafes, and even public squares, traditional Dutch social gathering spots, turned into informal exchanges where the buzz around tulip bulbs was palpable. These weren't just flowers anymore but assets, almost alternative currencies. Contracts were negotiated and traded in these bustling places, promising bulb delivery at a future date, marking what we recognize today as one of the first futures markets. At the heart of this fever, wild tales emerged. Merchants willing to barter their entire shop, their entire business, for a bulb of an exceptional variety. Then there were almost comical yet tragic tales of starving sailors who, unable to tell the difference, mistook these valuable tulip bulbs for mere onions, accidentally consuming what was a fortune. Imagine the owner's shock when discovering that his wealth had been reduced to a mere soup. These stories of sudden fortunes and abrupt declines reflected an era when a flower could alter a man's fate. Yet, despite these warning signs, there was no foreboding of the collapse of this floral madness. But, as the old adage goes, what goes up must come down. This universal principle proved undeniably true for this speculative bubble. Despite the nearly euphoric atmosphere, the exorbitant prices demanded for certain tulip bulbs began to surpass even the widespread madness. These amounts, though unflinchingly accepted for a while, started to appear deeply unrealistic even to the most optimistic. The first warning, the shot across the bow that shook confidence in this floral craze, manifested during an auction in Harlem. In this room, typically alive with whispered bids and the gleam of bulbs selling for gold, a heavy silence settled. For the first time, bulbs up for auction remained unsold. This was not merely an isolated incident but an omen of the storm ahead. Doubt began to blow in the wind. Those who had been making bold bets, trading contracts promising tulips at future fixed prices, suddenly realized the risks. This realization, like a cold shiver, ran through the market. Contract holders tried desperately to sell off, seeking to limit their losses. What began as a gentle breeze of panic transformed into a hurricane, resulting in a drastic plunge in tulip prices. The streets, once ringing with the cheerful clink of gold coins, filled with the sighs of those who lost everything. Given the extent of this financial crisis, government intervention became imperative. But the authorities were in uncharted territory. How to navigate the turbulent waters of such a unique market? How to stabilize a ship rocked by the waves of speculation and fear? The decision was ultimately made that contracts established during this frenzied period would not be legally binding. An imperfect solution, to be sure, but an attempt to drop anchor and bring some semblance of calm to a nation in turmoil. Yet the economic and social consequences of Tulip Mania were deep and lasting. Entire families, whether from the working class or bourgeoisie, felt the cruel bite of financial ruin. The image of the average citizen, having saved for years, then investing in hopes of a better life through tulips, is particularly heart-wrenching. These very people saw their dreams shattered and their financial security vanish, often within a matter of days or weeks. Merchants, who were often viewed as the wise custodians of the economy, were no better off. Even those who had weathered many economic storms were caught off guard by the scale and swiftness of the decline. Businesses that were once community pillars and seemed unshakable shut their doors, overwhelmed by the magnitude of debts incurred during the wildest days of Tulip Mania. The crisis also eroded confidence in the country's economic institutions. The Netherlands, thanks to their expertise in trade and navigation, were seen as a beacon of prosperity and stability in Europe. However, after Tulip Mania, this image was tarnished. The burning question on everyone's lips was, if the robust Dutch financial institutions could collapse so easily, what assurances did we have elsewhere? This crisis not only called into question the robustness of local financial systems, but it also shook confidence in markets internationally. After undergoing such economic and social upheaval, the Netherlands then found itself facing a reflective mirror of human excess. Their own history became a source of introspection. Over time, Tulip Mania stood as a solemn warning for future generations, a living lesson on the inherent dangers of frenzied speculation and gold fever. Even today, economists and historians cite it as a classic example of a speculative bubble, perfectly illustrating those moments when logic and reason are sidelined, overtaken by greed and an irrational exuberance that seems, for a time, boundless. But beyond the financial losses and economic turmoil, Tulip Mania also left an indelible cultural legacy. Tulips, despite the controversy and chaos they sparked, remain a symbol dear to the Dutch heart. They still adorn fields, gardens, and homes, today representing a significant part of the national identity and pride. And, like any great tale that spans the ages, that of Tulip Mania reminds us of the delicate and often precarious balance between passion and reason, between the boldest dreams and the sometimes cruel reality awaiting them.